All right, I want to thank everybody for being here. Our two guests, very different feeling, at least I'm getting. So I want to thank everybody for being here. And I guess I might as well start. This is our ET board meeting for March. And all right. So just in terms of appearance, you guys have you're very military. It's a serious meeting with a military feel to it. Yeah, so that's what I'm picking up now. So why don't you, should I introduce by talking? Yeah, okay, all right. So just to sort of give some background, we just had a conversation with Harvey at the beach, and the basic meaning that came across from that was that this is the real crunch time, and that you guys actually did the so-called drone show, or the large shows, literally thousands of ships during the November, December, and January period, literally to show everybody that the ships showing up were not going to change anything, that the ships showing up were going to be circumvented by the authorities. And the basic idea was that the authorities, controlled by what we call the bad ETs, are so thoroughly controlling everything that it didn't matter what kind of ships we showed up with, what kind of ship, big ships, little ships, whatever. You had thousands of them. It's now completely off the news as if it never happened before. And the government just came out with 3 excuses, one after the other. First, it was an Iranian mothership that was putting them out, then a Chinese mothership, and then FAA approved experimental aircraft. I mean, everything was completely bogus, and it's off the news now completely. And they're telling me that I'm doing okay by summarizing this. And then then what happened is they needed everyone in the planet to see that showing up with the ships, which is what everyone was demanding, would not work. And even larger ships would not work because the information control system is so absolutely, totally complete by the bad ETs and the co-opting of the political elite, the media, everything. It's just totally complete. And so something else needs to happen. And if that demonstration didn't occur, people would have accused some people, maybe even the good ETs, for causing calamities, when in fact something simpler could have worked, just showing up with the ships. And so they had to demonstrate that showing up the ships was not a solution. It would not have worked. But I have to say for myself, guys, that I was always expecting that the disclosure thing would be incremental, in the sense that one thing would lead to the next. Kennedy assassination stuff would come out, maybe 9/11 stuff would come out, and then the drones showing up or the ships showing up, that would be. And I was always assuming that the power structure, like the media and everything, would still stay intact. And now, even me, I'm seeing that is totally crazy. That as long as that these bad ETs have had millions of years to sort of fine-tune how to control a system, and the control is so complete, they're not going to be able to be knocked out by something simple like that. The control system literally has to be bulldozed down. And that means a complete collapse of civilization, sort of as we sort of normally exposed to it or see it. So I guess some of the questions I think we're going to be asking is, what does this mean? How far does it go? What are we really talking about? Aziz was talking earlier about, does this mean economic? Does this mean political? Does this mean is it going to be like the former Soviet Union collapsing? Or is it going to be something more or less, whatever? And all right, so at this point, that's sort of where we are. So why don't you take over and just sort of tell us what you're thinking? I do want to say that these guys are very military. They have uniforms on. At least that's what it looks like to me. Yeah. So, all right. So let me shut up and I'll talk. But from what you guys are, so Courtney is correct. This is the military time. This is the time when push comes to shove. This is the time when really things start to happen. So, we can't tell you exact details, because everything is still in flux. In any military situation, every battle can't be predicted in advance because the other side is adapting. So it's not like it's a play that we know the script and the script will just fill out, end in the normal way, and we know how the final act actually occurs. That this is an operation in motion, and that the bad DTs know about everything. They know everything that they're trying and we're trying, and that there are no secrets. Just like you have remote viewing, you go in and you can see everything. Well, we are way beyond that, and so we have no secrets, and there's no technological advantage that one side has over the other. We've all invented everything that can be invented. So it's really strategy. And this is where the whole idea of it's military stuff that goes above your pay grade. This is really more complicated than you want. So Courtney does stuff called, social stuff, modeling societies, and this is more complicated than anything that he's doing, but it's more complicated even than anything that's going on in the Pentagon. This is really very complicated stuff, and it's at such a high level that even the bad ETs and the good ETs, but they don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. But we are talking about a complete takedown of the structure of the system, and the entire system has to come down. And the real question is how much force is going to be necessary to take down the system. So we're talking military stuff. Now, the military stuff is dealing totally with the bad ETs in the sense that we're not doing anything militarily against any humans. We're trying to protect humans, but we're not doing anything against any military on Earth, any human military. Our military presence is totally focused on activities that could occur with the so-called bad ETs. Yeah. He says I'm doing okay, and so I should. All right, let me get a little bit more. He wants me to continue. And so this is. It's hard to emphasize enough how technical and how advanced this level of battlefield stuff is. And on even a galactic level, this is extremely advanced stuff that involves telepathic stuff. It involves AI. It involves complicated maneuvers, not just ship maneuvers, but psychic maneuvers or psychological maneuvers. And this is psyops on steroids. That's way beyond anything that we've seen, that the Earth audience has seen before. And that the Earth audience will get a window into this, but they're not going to see everything. It's going to be way more complicated and a lot more happening behind the scenes. But they want us to know fundamentally, absolutely, that our goal is to protect humanity, to better humanity. So even if humanity goes through shit right now, even if they go through really terrible stuff over the next some months, know that their goal is to protect humanity, is to save humanity. That's why we're here in the first place. Humanity is already in deep shit, so to speak. Our humanity is already in more trouble than you can possibly imagine. We're trying to end that trouble. So when more calamities occur, don't be upset. If you're in a prison and somebody comes with a bulldozer and knocks the wall down in the prison, it's going to cause commotion in the prison. Don't be upset by that. That just simply has to happen. The wall has to break down in order for you to get out. So there's going to be a lot of disruption, and that disruption should not be feared. And one thing you want to really emphasize is we are the rescuing force. We're not the attacking force. Calamities will occur, but we are here to stop those. We are here to stop the ongoing super calamity that's happening with all of humanity. That's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid that beyond all things. So that's why the presence here of two military people, because it's no longer a political issue anymore. Now it's a military issue. And the military, we have to have our time when we run the show. This is when the political people on our side stand back and they say, let the generals, the admirals run the show. That's where we are right now. Okay, I'm a little get burned. He said it's okay for me to pass it on. Yame, do you want
It's
to?
not about the battle or the collapse, as you call it. It's more or less, if we're talking about disclosure, it's not about the fight. It's about what happens after the collapse or after the fight. We know that humanity has been shit. It's always been. It's been this way. This is the type of planet that you live in. This is where you are. That is neither here nor there. As we talk about disruption, the things going on this planet is not the disruption. We are the disruption. We are here to move and to shift the things necessary to break the system. It is not about the fights. It is not about the war. It is not about the collapse of finances. It is not about the collapse of humanity, as you call it. It is about what is coming forth from the collapse. Humans, he says that your people focus so much on the disturbance of things that they're not looking at what truly is. They're focused so much on the fight. They're focused so much on the cold and hot wars. They're focused so much on the dismantling of such things that they're missing what is actually happening. When we have a blending of society, open blending of society in one planet, when we have an open blending of community within your planet, when you have an open blending of species, things will shift. When you have an open blending of species, you will get friction. You will get the good and the bad of everything. It is not whether one is good or bad, because no matter who we are, whether we represent as free will ETs, as you call it, or whether we represent as the bad ETs, it does not matter. Everything will change. If they are not ready, if you are not ready, they will see us as a threat, whether we are a threat or not. It is about what are we doing, what are you doing to bring, and by you are they are referring to the humans, to the people of this planet. What are you doing to open yourselves, which you have touched bases on before, to the fact that this is about to be a blended space? You are no longer able to say that you are alone on this planet, in this galaxy, in this solar system. We are here. You know that we are here. The government knows that we are here. Your government is trying to shift and change that. It is not whether or not we are good or bad. It is not whether or not we are here for you, whether we are here to help, or whether we are here to shift or change. It is about that we are here in general, and that is something that needs to be known, heard, and understood. It will not change. It will only grow more. You will only see more. If there is a, as you call it, collapse, if there is a collapse of your systems, or a collapse of your society, it is your own doing. It is not ours. It is because you are not looking at what is right in front of you. You are infiltrating our spaces. We are infiltrating yours. This is not a fear. This is nothing to be afraid of. We are coexisting in this realm and in many other realms. And it can no longer be ignored, because as things change with this planet, and as this planet grows, and as this planet dies, and as this planet is reborn, there will be a new species coming. There will be new people coming. There will be a new generation of human coming, of hybrid coming, that are already here. They are already testing your DNA. They're already looking to see who of these humans, who of your species is a threat to this planet for bringing forth the truth, for bringing out what is necessary to I guess, as you are saying, shut down your system. But the system never existed. The system was created to stop the truth. And that is where all of you are confused. That is where all of you need to see what is right in front of you. I do believe that you all have communicated about looking at the bigger picture in your previous board meetings, looking at what is a necessity to do to open these spaces. And it seems like the message is getting across as for societal purposes, but this is not for societal purposes. What these things are for are to bring back what you are born with, what has been stripped from you, what has been stripped from everyone. It is not about sides. It is not about siding. It is not about what. Can you slow down, please? Thank you. It is not. It is more so about what are you going to do about it? The time is now, and the time has come. Once we do arrive on this planet in a way where we're no longer going to disappear, where we are fully showing ourselves, there's nothing you can do about it. And there will be war. Nobody wants that. Now, yes, there are groups that want to make it appear as though that these are the things that we desire, but nobody wants there to be an all-out upheaval and dismantling of your structure. We want a blending of structure. Aziz.
So I've got a couple of telepathic images that were coming across as I was perceiving what everyone was saying and what they were specifically projecting out. The first image was of an urban environment with some modern architecture, and it had a flash of energetics, and smoke seemed to be rising out of it, and it seems to show just general destruction in modern urban spaces being something that occurs. That's something that we've already seen happening in the current day and age, so nothing too surprising, but it seems like that trend will continue and get more pronounced. And then as this more violent side of change happens, a gap is going to be made. That was the next thing I saw, was a visual of a subject that seemed to be kind of like a leadership figure, and that subject being in this environment that was it seems that in his mind he was seeing a big gap was made from the destruction in the territory that was the status quo, the old world order that of what is traditionally the world we exist in right now. A big gap was made, and so that means that and this being in the near future, so a gap is going to be made by the destruction, and it's going to shake things up. It's going to shake up the status quo, and as a result, there will be less dissonance and ignorable evidence, because the destruction will be very in our face. Right now, we live in a society that's pretty it's a little insulting, because quite a few people are very aware and have come to their own conclusions of the evidence that is out there, that we're not alone, that the government basically is lying. Saying that the government is lying to us about stuff is incredibly commonplace. But when you see that you are putting together a different worldview than what the mainstream media is telling us, there's dissonance there. There's cognitive dissonance, and it's insulting to look at. There will be less of that as the destruction becomes in our face. And that will result in a reorientation of society, making basically a different fruit or a different tree from which new fruits will come to bear. And one of those new fruits was another visual of what looked like a planet with non-surface structures flying off of it. And I got a strong pulse, a strong message that the tree that we live in right now, the society that we live in right now, that visual is just not possible for us. There needs to be a new tree. There needs to be a strong reorientation of society to create a new tree that allows our mainstream, open, publicly disclosed civilization to produce fruit like non-surface structures leaving the planet, stuff like that, an expansion of our society. And the current tree, the one that we're living in right now, the one that we're going to be watching burn, it's just not capable of producing that. It's barred from that. So the isolation of our civilization ends by restructuring, reorienting the civilization in such a way that you can call it and make a decent argument to call it destructive.
I was just writing that down.
Yeah.
I was just writing it.
Yeah. So that's anyway, that is what I was picking up. So
while there will be what is perceived as a fall, as a disruption or destruction, it is a rebuilding. And in order to build, you must destroy. That's what I was saying, hearing when you said that. In order to build, you must first destroy. You cannot build on top of another building. You cannot just take a land that already has an item and put something on top of it. It will not be sturdy. And so while these things look like destruction to you, while these things look like destruction to us, it is a consistent form of manipulation. When you have a consistent form of manipulation, people look at manipulation as a negative connotation. But to manipulate means to reform, or in a sense, I am manipulating. If you have Play-Doh and you build something here, and you want to change, you have to manipulate it first in order to make it into something else. Do not look at manipulation as a negativity. Manipulation is something that is needed for what it takes to bridge the gap. While we have these different things happening and coming into this solar system, into this space, to bridge the gap, we have what is seeming, I personally don't like this, but we have what is seeming as is implanting, right? Whether people receiving a form of implants in a future of yours, within a bridging of AI to human, right? Where human is not just human, where human is combined with AI, where there are more hybrid humans in this space of extraterrestrial and human, and it being noticeable and known. If you already have not noticed it somewhere in your land, whether it not be in this part of your world, in the next, but it's there. It is something that is rising. It is something that is looked at as a threat. And I can understand why you may think this is a threat to your kind, or this is a threat to your people. We look at it as a growth in your space. I can understand. Yes, I am. They can sense my discomfort. I'm very uncomfortable with what I'm hearing and what I'm being shown right now. I personally am very uncomfortable with what is being said to me. But I'm the person that's receiving the message, so I'm saying what I'm hearing. So if you see my discomfort, that is what it is. I do not agree, but at all, I do not agree whatsoever with the message. No disrespect to the space. But it's happening. And this is a get with the program or get kicking type of situation. And we have to, there is a level of conformity. There is a level of conformity to which you will have to do in order to move to the next phase and where this planet needs to be taken, in order to break down the lies within the system. Because once you can see what we can see, then there's no way it can be hidden from you. And then there's no way you can be distorted. But you must first be broken down. And when I say broken down, again, we are not talking about in a negative way. You gotta break down the ingredients before you get your cake. You have to have a breakdown of what is happening before it can become whole. And so you're going to have these spaces where you feel like you are deteriorating within your community, in your world, and you're going to have resistance. Stop resisting, because where you are resisting, you are not allowing yourself to be open to possibility of growth and knowledge within yourself. You're limiting your own beliefs. Now, what I am not saying is that you have to comply to everything that is going to be going on and happening, but there will be shifts, and there will need to be a level. This is a very militant thing, Courtney. There will need to be a level of compliance for the shift.
Did you guys have something that you guys were going to say?
Shantae, you're next.
Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to the discussion of collapse, or just in general, like with AI and all of this, they're really emphasizing just collaboration, because, or it's like they're a bit off put, or what we require to, I guess, survive this collapse is collaboration, and that's collaboration with ETs, collaborations amongst ourselves, and they're off put, they're not impressed by the level of collaboration we're at right now. And even with the technological feats that we have, we're not even close to using them appropriately. And even military subjects, and like offering protection for us, that seems to be coming from a place of also generosity. And if you're feeding generosity into a system that does not foster generosity, that does not reward generosity, you're just only going to get but so far. And that's, I think, what they're feeling, even from a military standpoint, even from having technology that is beneficial. It also seems like they're like, you're coming from a place where you're just more in harmony. Your technology is in harmony with how you exist. And even the planet that you come from, it flows. And so what they're hoping for with the discussion of collapse is more a collapse of this scarcity mindset, a collapse of a lack, feeling like you're lacking when we could tap into the abundance, the generosity. Yeah, they're just not impressed with the lack of harmony that we're at right now. But also, it also, going back to the telepathy and collaboration, because that's how they're saying they see a lot of our technological advancements are from collaboration through telepathy. and that's not to take away from the knowledge that we have, our abilities to reason that we already have outside of improving our telepathy, but just a reminder, it seems. But, take note of what makes your mind feel busy versus what gets your mind flowing. So, yeah, that's...
Auntie Sam?
So I was asking essentially the same thing we all are, is this disclosure, how is it going to come through? And this collapse that we've been talking about, how is that going to look like? And essentially I was getting telepathic imagery of a few things. So we already kind of have models of disclosure. We have like V for Vendetta. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's a movie about disclosure, right? About disclosure about information. And then we have Star Wars, and these are all, the writers might have thought, well, this is just like a creative output, but essentially it was also remote viewing in some ways, remote viewing into the past, remote viewing into the future, remote viewing into solutions onto how disclosure could look like. And from that I was getting, like Aziz pointed out, and Yemi, it is a collapse of, I think, symbols of control. Like in V for Vendetta, it was like what's their Congress called?
I forget.
The British system
Parliament?
of their parliament. It was that breaking down. For Star Wars, it was the Death Star, right? That was the symbol of the dark side of the empire, and that was what was collapsing. And from that, once you have that out of the way, then you can then move forward with disclosure, with more information, with freedom and unity, and just kind of come off of the foot that's kind of on us right now. So I was getting that these symbols are all including like media, right? They're including the pharmaceutical companies, governments, military, some military, like, CIA, FBI, all these things are things that we're eventually going to have to come off of, because these are the symbols of the empire. Mm-hmm. They are the symbols that are serving these bad ETs, right, to keep us here. Like, Big Pharma is not our friend. The media is not our friend. It's like similar to V for Vendetta, right? CNN comes on and starts to tell you certain things, starts to tell you, oh, okay, the drones aren't even happening, right? Aliens don't even exist. These are all symbols of control that are going to have to topple before we can get moving. And I was also, I'm getting this collapse, how it's going to happen. It's better that we progress in these steps as opposed to an all-out hot war, because when the guns start blazing, we're gonna die, right? That's gonna be the thing. The Earth is gonna die. Our souls are just gonna go right back into the soul traps, where our friends, they're not trying to do a repeat of Maldek. We're not trying to blow up a whole planet. We don't want Earth to be a pile of asteroids floating around in space. So, yeah, good things take time, and we have to be patient. The Earth, she's a consciousness. She's a divine being. She's like higher than we are. She's essentially a god. So her consciousness has to be protected. We can't do things carelessly. Mm-hmm. We can't put her on in the like line of fire. That's why, like, if World War III were to happen, if nukes were about to go off, it's gonna be a loss for everyone. That's not gonna benefit anyone. So that's the message I was getting.
I also got a bit of a social version of some of those concepts. One of the things I was picking up is this idea of a one world identity. It's a bit of a different, it's not exactly I wouldn't call it a new world order. I would say that very specifically the wording that I was picking up was deliberate, a one world identity. And that bureaucracy, once this was established, would seem slower to blend this idea, this archetype, and make it physical. But the mind would make a one world identity. The current United Nations, which you could sort of describe as an early attempt, that has a completely different energy to it. Compared to the upcoming one world identity that would result from an event, experiences, and intense reorientation of society. The United Nations pales in comparison to this. And in fact, looking back at the United Nations from this point in our near future would make the United Nations sort of look like a lie, or maybe an attack or defense tactic, with just has completely different agenda than what I'm talking about. But the mind unity event across the planet that would catalyze this one world identity would ultimately shift the perspective of the common person through these events that bring an experiential awareness that would cause us to reorient. And the visuals that I'm seeing that sort of make up the actual effect of this one world identity are borders changing of the current countries that we see on the globe right now. I'm seeing borders not really shrinking as much as large borders expanding, which I guess, that would result in other borders shrinking, but I'm just seeing borders expanding. And this simultaneous thing kind of goes on with what you were saying earlier, Shantae. I see simultaneously this different energy that happens between people who are heavily involved in these expanding borders, these macro level trends, and an opposite energy happening from them to individuals. I feel like the individual space at a micro level is full of very strategically planned out pacification tactics, where the common civilian is strategically pacified at the individual level, mainly just to keep people out of their way, to keep people out of the way of these more powerful actors who are saying, we're dealing with data that's not openly expressed to you guys. Stay out of our way. And one of these big ways to make sure you stay out of their way is to give you timelines saying, hey, something soon is going to happen. All you got to do is sit on your hands, put your hands underneath your butt and wait. Don't use your hands. Don't do anything. Just wait. Just stay out of our way. And it seems like that is a strong energy that I'm getting that comes from a lot of very powerful actors in this space that are doing stuff. So that's just something to be aware of. That's going on. Is there's big energy moving to expand, to make the world what people want the world to be across a very large and well thought out plan. But there's also another energy that's very much a part of that, which is to control the common folk. And controlling the common folk usually results in pacifying them through the mechanisms of civilization. So, yeah.
Yeah. I wrote, I kept hearing, and my translation of what I was hearing, it was way more profound, but I went a different route with this delivery. Get with the program or you will get lost in the sauce. That's what I kept hearing. Obviously in different words, but get with the program or you get lost in the sauce. You cannot stay stagnant in your mindset and expect to grow and move, get connected, and allow space for the connection and for the bridge. And when I'm talking about the connection and the bridge, I am referring to the blending of society with these other beings. It's happening. It's inevitable. You can't take it away. You can't keep hiding it, news, government, media. You can't, because they taking their time with you. And I'm talking to the media when I say that. They're taking their time with you. They're just like filing their nails, sitting here like, all right, we tried it the easy way. We don't want, like, culturally, we are taught not to show up to nobody's house unexpected, right? You call first, You send a snail mail if it's that period of time. An email, a text message, or something, telepathic, whatever it is. You send a message before you show up at somebody's house. That's how I was raised, and this is kind of how these beings are sitting here. Like, hey, we knocked on the door. And I'm using this as a phrase. Don't get all butthurt about it. But this is similar to the whole Jesus is coming. Well, Jesus has been coming for the last 400 years. Well, the aliens are here. They're here. They're not coming. They're not coming. They're not on their way. They knocked on the door a little while ago, and y'all was like, conspiracy theorists, let's put them in a box. They're here now. They called. They gave you a text message. They wrote it. They wrote it on the brick walls on in the caves. They gave us the messages eons ago. You're the ones that are slow to listen. You're the ones that's trying to hide it underneath the covers like parents do with their children with the truth. No, Santa Claus ain't real. Yes, aliens are. Point blank, period. And that is where we are right now. You need to get with the program or you will get lost in the sauce and it will seem like a takeover. They're not trying to take over. They're here. We here. And you cannot continue to nullify and dumb down and hide the truth, or people listening to the media hide from the truth.
I don't really know what to do about it. It's I totally agree. We have all these. It's almost like the law of the jungle in the sense that you only deserve to have the power that would come from accepting a different reality if you act on it, and if you can really internalize that's a different place. The only knee-jerk reaction I can really come up with of what to do about the information is to increase your psychic abilities, to just try to train that. But outside of that, I don't really know what to do. I mean, the other sort of common action that I see is basically what this is just, we got to tell other people about it. But even then, I mean, it's just, if you guys have other ideas, I mean, even people who are just watching in the comments, what do you do about it? How do you, we live in this world where you can't rely on the macro level forms of our civilization because they're compromised. We live basically in a place it's a prison. And if we really want to have a different life, if we really want to not have the limitations that we have to seize it. We have to do the exact opposite of what these pacification tactics are telling us, which is, just wait a little longer, just kick the can down the road a little bit further. I mean, I mean, we've all been hearing from multiple sources that, the whole world's going to be different in just a year or two, maybe 3. And it's I've been hearing that message since I first started looking into this type of stuff, and it's been a decade. We're still doing the same stuff, and it's the political situation's a little different. We can see evidence of things changing. So the only real thing that we can do to catalyze serious change is it has to be something that we physically get up and shake our lives into a different box or into a different place. And I don't know what to do. Besides training my psychic abilities and talking about it, I don't know what else to do.
Buy large bags of beans and rice, Aziz.
Yes. I keep telling my mom that. Like, hey, when you go to the farmer's market, pick me up a bag because something's about to happen.
But might I say that goes back to...
Let's get Kamaya in here.
Wait, hold on.
Shantae
was in the middle of
Shantae and Entisam. Then Kamaya.
You were saying.
Kamaya, you're up soon.
I might say that goes back to the scarcity mindset. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, for sure, feel prepared, acquire what you can to feel secure, but be aware that you are still existing around so many other people. And if you stock up, just be aware of what that could mean for other people who didn't stock up. Not saying that it's dangerous or not saying that you need to like necessarily protect yourself physically, or not that it's bringing danger to you, but there's more than one way to go about stocking up so that maybe you have a whole community of people that are stocked up. If you're getting a message that like, I need to buy more food, maybe talk to who's around you and see, are they feeling that too? Because I think there's an increase of psychic attacks right now. And I see it for what it is, and I can look past it, but I feel like there's so many people that are, they're so close with psychic ability, like a breakthrough, they're close. And it's like...
they need a confirmation.
Yeah, so maybe reach out. Stock up with what feels good, but also...
This is not conspiracy theory anymore. The head of the European Union has advised Western Europeans to stock up, to have at least 3 days, she was saying, of at least 3 days of supplies. And this is the head of the European Union. And I don't think 3 days is going to satisfy anything, but the very fact that she officially stated as a policy of the European Union that everyone in Europe should have at least 3 days because of the threat of this collapse issue. Entisam, go ahead.
No,
Okay,
darling. It's. Oh.
No.
Hey, Shantae, did I
Kamaya,
cut you off,
yes,
Shantae? Or
No, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
Kamaya, you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay, Kamaya, this time you're up.
But you're saying a lot.
You're saying a lot, Kamaya. You're just saying it silently. Unfortunately, the rest of our audience can't pick you up telepathically. They need you to speak into the mic.
I don't know what to say. It's teetering on the lines of what I believe in personally. So it's kind of like, I don't know what's real and what's not anymore. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to sit in front of a camera and tell y'all X, Y, and Z when I don't believe it myself still. I don't believe in war, so it doesn't make any sense to me. I watch what's going on. I listen. I feel the sense of urgency. I also feel the sense of being coerced and manipulated into being aware, being afraid, or something like that. I don't know. So I guess for me, my mind feels very spaghetti. Feels like spaghetti.
Can you tell us more about your beliefs? Because those beliefs may help someone else understand what they're thinking.
It's like, I don't trust these folks. I don't trust the people sitting across from us. You know what I'm saying? Like, or the ETs or whoever's sitting across from us. I just don't. The connection, I'm not here for it. I'm not here with them. I'm listening to what they're saying, and some of it just feels like there's something else going on that I can't sense. I got a bag of beans and rice too, but it's not because I'm afraid of the collapse. I don't even feel like a collapse is a term that I want to even low-key speak into existence.
Right.
The world changes. We all change every day. It's naive to believe that we can all just keep things the same all the time, but I don't know. I really don't know. Telepathically, I don't like these folks across from me.
I understand.
Maybe they can tell us more about themselves and where they're from, because I mean, our audience has like, and so do we. We know that. We know what they look like, but like, where are you from? Where do you live? How did you get here?
Okay, I'll translate that. They're military, and that we have been kept from the military people in these meetings. All the people that have come to the meetings so far, including Bill the Gray, were political and social people. You might consider them social workers, in the sense that they're not at the level of ambassadors, but they're in the level of people that are experts in communicating with society in a way to explain to people how to move to the next level, introduce new ideas, and so on. We're different. We're now at the cutting edge. This is the battle lines. This is why the people here are feeling us differently and are concerned and not trusting and upset, because we're the soldiers that have been brought in. We're the guns. You're actually speaking to people who are, you might consider them sort of colonel rank, but they're military people, and the military people feel different when you talk with them, and they're not the people you want to speak to in the first place. In the first place, you want to get ideas introduced. But this really is the time when we actually have to fight the battles. And you have to understand, we're not fighting anybody that's a human. A lot of our side has been sacrificed because we don't fight back. When your American secret space program shoots some of our ships, we don't fight back. We're not here to fight any humans or any human source or any human military. But we have ETs that are on our level, ETs that are military, and they have bad ships, and we have been brought in for that. And that's who we have to, you have to know that this is a time when we have to, this is our time to actually protect you. But our, soldiers feel different than political and cultural people. Okay, Intisam, you were reacting.
It wasn't to that. It was to something else.
Oh,
Well,
you were reacting to something? Okay.
My only thing, I don't personally get a strong military vibe, but could we clarify that military, the way it's commonly conceptualized for us, is not necessarily what they have going on,
There.
Yeah.
and not how
Go
they
ahead.
There.
is not. Yeah, that's my only thing. I think when we commonly hear military, there is a picture. There is a soldiers, gun, it doesn't have to be that, and I
Yeah.
don't think that's specifically how they come. For me,
Yeah.
that's not how I'm perceiving them.
They're
So,
glad that you asked the question. The issue is we are a galactic military force. We work not in two dimensions on the surface of a planet the way that human militaries work. And we're very careful about abuses that occur. Our purpose here is to stop abuses from occurring. So when you hear of American, foreign, Russian, Ukrainian, Middle Eastern, whatever, military things, you always hear about atrocities and things like that. That's totally opposite. We are from the free will side. We cannot try to force or attack people who are innocent or who are deciding not to. And even the ETs that are, Courtney calls the bad ETs, we can't just attack them. They have to make a conscious decision to confront us. So, but at some point, if we don't stand in, that side will confront us, and they will mow our civilizations down to dust. If we are not here ready to protect our side will crumble. So you cannot have liberty in the absence of a defense. You cannot have freedom in the absence of being able to control your own freedom. And that's where we come in. If we do not exist, you're slaves. And we are here to free you and to protect you. And when we are called in, that is our job. And we make sacrifices, but we never, ever, ever fight the humans. We never actually go after anything we never hurt the people we're trying to save. But there are people, there are beings, there are forces that are so evil you don't even have the slightest inkling of how deep the evil is. And they are the ones that are controlling you right now. And those are our enemies. Those are the ones that we have to deal with. And you don't bring people who are pussyfooters out to deal with those types of people. But that's the vibe you're getting, meaning these are military people, and they have a depth of capability that I think everyone in this room is not familiar with, and it's sort of shocking to us.
No, they're not shocking to me.
Not at all.
Okay, let Kamaya say something.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you.
Right.
But like, where are they from? Do they live? Sorry, I should ask that.
They live in
Do
their
you
ships.
live in? Okay, are you from this system or are you from another galaxy?
They are not from this. They're from this galaxy, but they are not from this solar system.
Why does he look like you?
Why does he look like me?
Yeah.
Well, he's my cousin.
Twice
I'm only kidding.
removed.
I'm just joking. He even
honestly,
smiled. He even smiled with that one.
Physically, he looks like you.
Uh-huh.
I think the human form is probably quite common in a lot of different places.
They're slender. They're slender.
Saying you're slender, huh?
They're disciplined.
Oh,
Chiseled.
Calm down.
So she said, calm down. Simmer down, Leo. So from our guest here, in response to the last comment Aziz made about timeline and, about how they basically have been telling us that they're pulling up, she says that, or in your question that you asked, like, what else do we do? And, in response to those things, she mentioned long-term shifts have been happening and stand firm in and grow with that. So basically, open your eyes. Get with the program. She says long-term shifts have been happening and stand firm and grow with that. I just wanted to make that known because I wanted her voice to be heard.
You mean
Intellect. Yes.
Yeah, let me explain to the audience that we have an observer here, a human observer called Intellect. She does video editing for us, and she's also involved in the remote viewing processes and so on. And we wanted her to see this meeting for the first time, so she's here. She doesn't speak, but she's written some notes down.
You mean she's human? I would have never known.
Okay. So,
Well,
yeah,
This was a productive meeting,
I
I'd
have
say.
one more question.
Sure.
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
I was replaying or whatever in my head. You said they're military, but they don't hurt nobody.
They don't hurt humans.
That's actually a common thing that...
But every type of military, I feel like,
Well, I
I think
hurts
this is where
people
our
even if they're not trying to.
Right, there we go. And I was about to say, I think this is where because y'all heard me verbalize my distrust and my discomfort. I think this is where our discomfort lies because, to my knowledge, both Kamaya and I, we don't really rock with the military. Or militant. Militant like things. And much like Shantae has said, they are not in the space of military in the way we know it. And so when you have this galactic federal, intergalactic military situation, as Courtney is calling it, or as they are saying, there is a more neutral ground than a one size or one-sided situation. Here with them, it is not a we are good, we are free. And I mentioned that when I first came, and they were very adamant about that to me anyhow. At least this one here that's directly in front of me was very adamant about hey, it's not even about the wars. It's not about whether we good or bad. It's about the fact that we here. And so, watch my language. I don't care if they free will, not free will, good ET, bad ET, whatever label they put upon themselves or do not put upon themselves. And I don't think they care either. They're giving me this, whatever you call us, what you want to call us, but this is what we are, type of energy here. And so we can, they're here and they're with us and they have this message for us. And it is a message that is necessary, but it is not on a level of, it is a more neutral ground. They are neutral. They're not here to fight. They don't want war. Who said that? They don't want war. No, nobody really wants that, right? Except obviously the people that do. But nobody really wants that. They do not want a collapse or whatever you want to call it. They don't like that terminology either. The collapse. They call it as something different, but I can't translate it right now. And this is not what is necessary. It is more or less we here. And this is what's happening. This is what's happening. You can label it what you want to label it, but this is what's happening.
Let me add that I'm more sympathetic with their side because I've been deeply involved for a long time in these conversations with Harvey. And I have a great appreciation for the security people that are there. Every time we go to the beach and we have these meetings, we are surrounded by not only lots of ships, but also tons of security people. Tons of security people. And we would not be able to function. We would not even exist as a group without the security people. Now, those people are not necessarily these military people, but some of them are. These military people are the invisible people that surround us every time we go to the beach and we have a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
They are the very ones that are literally surrounding us in the ships and everything like that.
Absolutely.
But they want me to emphasize that obey is not the right word, but their deep, deep, deep internal allegiance is to the civilian leadership of our side, the so-called free will ET side. When I meet with, for example, at the conversations with Harvey, I had yet another conversation with the commander, and the commander is this lady. She's the nicest lady in the world, but she comes across as, captain of the Enterprise, a type of thing. She comes across as Admiral so-and-so, but she's the nicest person, and they will do anything for that civilian side. But that side doesn't feel upsetting like you're talking here.
We never said upsetting. Don't misunderstand what we are saying. We are saying that it's not as sugar and honey as it's being presented. And they are saying that. And I think everyone here can hear it.
I think also that
I'm sort of liking that, though. If I want somebody to fight for me, I want those guys to fight for me. I don't want to.
They can fight for whoever, but that's not the point of the conversation, is not the fight. And that's what, and we hear what you're saying, Courtney, and I hear this as well, but they also want to make sure it is known that that's not the bulk of what they're here to talk about.
Don't pound on the table. Okay, go ahead.
I think it'll be very common for us to see the same type of tactics that we see with conventional militant groups on the planet Earth reflected in other more sophisticated, complicated galactic scenarios, which is that everyone in every conflict sees themselves as the good guy, as sees themselves as having a perspective that is morally defendable and being right in their own perspective of philosophy that they have chosen to take on with the world. And I think that the idea of when you have that understanding, the idea of who's good and who's evil begins to lose a lot of its weight. But what actually ends up happening, as you were saying, what actually ends up being the actual physical outcome of our society, that's actually the thing that matters. But adopting the idea of the good and evil thing, it tends to be a little bit along the lines of accepting a little bit of weight in something that probably should have a little less weight when balancing an equation. So now that's not to villainize anybody.
Yeah, no one's villainizing anyone.
Yeah, but because if you were going to villainize them, that would actually be feeding into the exact same argument I'm saying I'm advocating against in sort of exalting them.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're seeing here is we're seeing a group that has been very invested in what we're doing here at Farsight and sees that this is a very necessary component to the evolution of the human experience, and that is something I am quite happy about. But I think that the nature of nature is very complicated, and it involves a lot of different things. Violence in general becomes a lot more multidimensional as we increase the sophistication of the level of sentience of the organisms, of the beings involved. So, yeah.
All right, so I just want to wrap up with this basic understanding of the level of complexity of the warfare that we normally understand in Earth terms is just like fighting, going this way, going that way, send tanks this way, sending missiles this way. And the stuff that they're involved with is so much more complicated, so much more multi-level, interdimensional. It involves a huge amount of psychic stuff, a huge amount of telepathy, a huge amount of communication, and ships coming in at different dimensions and forces that seen and unseen, and it's just really super complicated. It's like way more complicated than anything that's in Star Wars. So I'm glad you guys are experts in that, because I don't know squat about that stuff. Somebody's got to know how to work that thing. All right, I want to thank does anyone have any final statement? All right, I want to thank, go ahead.
No, I'm okay. Yeah.
Kamaya, do you have any final statement? Mm-mm. All right, I want to thank everyone for being here, and I want to thank you guys tremendously for being here and putting up with us. And this is a very different ET board meeting, and it was worth it. Thank you, and see you all next month.